This is our family milk cow, and we've been milking her now for a couple of months. But in hopes to make milking faster and more efficient, I got this milk machine here from Midi Supply.
Morning, May. Hey. Hey, girl.
And with our first time using the milk machine on our family cow, I never thought that this would happen. Oh, she's afraid. I'm not sure if it's the noise that the milk machine is making, but whatever it is, she doesn't want to come anywhere near the milk machine. So I'm like, I have no idea what to do about this. We have this brand new milk machine that can make the job much easier, but we also have this cow that is afraid of the machine. What do I do? But thankfully over the years we've been working on establishing relationships with others in the farming and homesteading community, and we're able to share knowledge amongst each other. I try to pass on information and knowledge to others, and I'm thankful that I also have mentors and others who help pass on information to me as well, because we're not to be all alone trying to figure it out all on ourselves. We need community. We need each other. It reminds me of Proverbs 18 verse 1, and it talks about a man who isolates himself is missing out, basically. I'm paraphrasing, on wise counsel, sound advice, that we need that information that we can share with one another. It just helps build us all up. And one of the things that a number of our mentors suggested with the milk machine is to move it away from her. Turn it on when we're milking her, and then each time move it closer and closer to her so she'll gradually get used to the machine. And man, it's so nice to have people that can make suggestions to you like that. It is so helpful.
You're fine.
And this brings to mind an experience that my family and I recently had while visiting another farm. We were with the Ng family, that wonderful family that I featured in a number of videos here recently, and the family that we got our newest addition, Aslan, from. Well, this farm that we were at together is also where one of Aslan's puppy siblings went.
Wow.
That's his sister. This is Diamond.
Diamond?
She looks more like Luke.
And Diamond means protector.
Hey there.
Hey.
Oh. John.
And it's also a farm where the Ngs go help out a couple of days a week. Why? Because this place is special to them. And Sophie explained to Lacie why this place is so special.
So this is Maggie and John's barnuminium.
Pretty cool.
It is really cool.
So how many acres do they have here?
They have 10 acres here.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah. John and Maggie are our mentors, and I found Maggie before we moved out here. We talked for 2 hours on the phone, and I was looking for a rogue community.
Yeah.
And so she's as rogue as they came. And when we finally met, it was the day after she got a diagnosis of her cancer.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, we just wanted to help. So I took the children and we would come, and Tim was gone for that first year. He wasn't here. He was still back in California transitioning our move over. And so because of that, you know, we were just looking for mentors and friends, really just friends and community. And Maggie took us under her wing and she showed us how to hand milk the cows. And she made sure, even though she had a perfectly good milker next to me, she made sure I
You had to do a hand. You had to hand milk a cow.
And it was very much Mr. Miyagi style.
No.
Yeah, she was example of tough love. She was just pure heart. And she would often say, you have to know, you just have to know how to milk the cow. You have to feel the udders, and you have to understand when the cow is fully stripped of its milk, because otherwise she could get mastitis. And because we're fully grass-fed, we don't do any antibiotics, we don't do, you know, all of the other medical interventions unless we absolutely need to. She said it's very important to be preventative in that case. And so, you know, she would often tell me, stand here and tell me how to, like, just look at the cow. How does she look? You know, how does Mona look? Does she look skinny? How is her rear? And, you know, because they couldn't lose too much weight. If they dropped too much weight, that was another thing. It takes them a lot more resources, because we're fully grass-fed, to get them to gain back the weight. So, yeah, I learned a lot. And she often said it's all about intuition. You have to see it. It's not something that we could really, I couldn't get that kind of training from YouTube. Also, I just, it's hard for me to watch YouTube and spend the hours, because everybody does something a little bit differently. And I need to be able to talk and ask questions. And that was one of the reasons why she was just a huge blessing in my life and the children. The children have it down so much, and she always enjoyed teaching. She was such a great teacher, and the children just loved her. She loved them, and it was really good. So we had about 1.5 years with her. She progressively got worse over time. We came here 1 day a week to help, and then it was 2 days a week, 3 days, and now we're up to 5 days. We even brought the cows back, because the idea was we would rotate our cows 6 months here on their pasture and 6 months on our pasture. So that's why you saw the milk stanchion and everything built out over there. But as she got progressively worse, I think because we had the cows over there, we didn't expect her to come over to milk for us. We were going to do it all, but I think she missed seeing us. So she wanted the cows back, and so we came back. And so we were up to 5 days a week, and now I think we really enjoy having John too. He's become a father figure for us and kind of a granddad for the children. And we just learn so much from them. Tim sometimes we'll now just go milking just to have some time with John, that I used to have with Maggie. So Tim didn't really milk before when Maggie was still here. And that was my special time with Maggie.
And these are like such special relationships that you can't put a price on. And this is like why community is so important, and local community.
So we had about 1.5 years with Maggie, where she trained us hands-on, but also we had a lot of great time together, conversations and sharing about how she had this dream to build this farm, and how she had a dream to build this barn dominium, this, you know, and writing a book one day to say how she lives in a barn. But, you know, we take huge responsibility for the cows. She did a wonderful job training them. And a lot of these cows came from her, there was someone who had troubled cows and would send them to Maggie, and Maggie would train them well enough that she would send them back. And so this Miss Brown was one of those cows. And I told her, why don't I buy that cow from you since you've already trained her? And so Miss Brown is with us. And, you know, Maggie was an AI tech, and she was supposed to train me to AI the cow. But it's okay, we will figure it out. But so this is Miss Brown.
It is so neat to see Sophie here, a former techie that worked in Silicon Valley, now totally accustomed to being on a farm and being fully capable of handling Mrs. Brown here.
She's a good mama.
Hey.
She's such a good mama that when she has her baby, she will hold her cream from us for the first couple of weeks.
Wow.
All right, let's
Look
go.
at her.
And into the barn, Mrs. Brown joyfully goes to be milked.
So we have a very well-oiled machine. If things can't be automated, we try to always focus on efficiency. And the children do a really, really good job. And Maggie has trained them hands-on as well. So you can see the product of her training.
So what do you feed your cows while you're milking them?
We do fermented alfalfa, so chaff hay, we do alfalfa, and we do a little bit, we just started implementing a little bit of these oats, and that's to really, it comes through just fine, but it's for the chickens to get into the manure afterwards, and they start scratching and peck, just scratching and
That's interesting
spreading
you
the
say that.
fertilizer.
So I'm glad you brought that out about the oats, because we give our Jersey oats, and I was looking at her poop and I was like, I'm seeing it in her poop. Should I be seeing it in her poop? But now you're saying it's actually for the chickens.
Yeah.
So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
That makes me feel better since we're new, milk cow owners.
Yeah, and that was something that Maggie and John also taught us too, because we were noticing that without the oats, the chickens weren't scratching through the cow pie, and so once we started adding the oats in, they were scratching through and spreading the fertilizer, right? And that's great for our pasture. We have minerals for them too, so they're also remineralizing the...
So are the oats good for the cow too? Does that provide them with anything?
Yes, oats are grass. And they were giving you the poop lecture on oats. And I have found that whole oats, for the reason I feed them, I know what they told you, is that the cow does not digest the whole oats as well as it does the crimped oats or the steamed oats, but that's what I want because it leaves the oats in that poop, and then the chickens scratch it up and tear it up more, so you don't have the big lumps of mounds of poop that the cows, when the grass grows up around that poo, the cows won't eat that, which is why you see the mounds out in the field.
It's been wonderful.
That's why I do oats.
This is the byproduct of Maggie showing us how to completely strip the cow, and she always taught us to make sure we knew how it felt like, how it's supposed to feel, and that's to make sure that the cows don't get mastitis.
That's true too, and the more you milk out, the more you get the next day.
That's right. Say that.
I said this little bit that she's stripping out now, which isn't much, in a dirty bucket will make the dog very happy. Wait your turn.
Wait your turn. She already knows what she's going to get.
And Emily and Natalie are the greatest two little milkmaids I have met in a long, long time.
Well, it's all thanks to you and Maggie. Huge thanks.
Thanks to Maggie, because I didn't know how to do this.
Yeah.
I knew how to cook hamburgers, but that's as close as I ever got until I met her.
So Maggie got you into this.
Oh, yeah.
About 30 years ago?
Shortly after we got married, 32 years ago, yeah.
Yeah.
She said, I'm going to go get a cow, and we're going to raise it for beef. I'm like, yeah, right. That thing is going to get a name, and it's going to live out with the dogs, and that's it. And I can't remember what she named it, Stewie or sirloin or whatever that one was. But from then on, it was never an issue. That's what they were for. She understood that to begin with.
One of the things that I find so pleasing to see is when parents allow their children to participate in chores and day-to-day activities that go on, particularly on a homestead, because these skills and experiences, help to pass on these things to future generations.
When our family works together, we can work more efficiently and effectively and ensure that all of our products are clean and healthy and taken care of.
And along those lines, let me tell you, it was so cute to see little Natalie taking the cows back out to the pasture. I wish we would have been able to walk around John's farm more, but it was just super wet and the rain was just pouring down. But maybe we can come back on a future visit, because I would love to come back and see this farm and see John again. Now, I must admit, after having the trouble that we've had with our cow and our milk machine, I was a little bit jealous of how easy the girls milked Mrs. Brown. But we're gonna keep working with our cow, Aunt May, so that way we can have it down as easy as those girls are able to milk Mrs. Brown. And one of the biggest things that I learned about Sophie during this visit is how big of an advocate she is for building community. However, she did have to face a disappointing issue with racism in her community, and she told us about it. So some people find it surprising that the farming community, especially here in the South, is really encouraging and people are willing to share knowledge. And because some people just automatically label this area and farming people as being racist or whatever. So thankfully I grew up here in the South and I've been in the farming now for whatever years. Thankfully I haven't experienced any of that. The worst I can think of was way back in like the 5th or 6th grade. It was a teacher that I had, and just coming from a mixed race background, it was bad, it was nasty. But anyways, okay. You guys come from an Asian background and moving here, what has that been like for you all and adjusting with that? Have you had any hardships, or has it been mostly fine?
Yeah, that's a great question, Mike. And Sophie and I are no strangers to the South. In fact, we were serving, or I was serving in Fort Benning, Georgia, and in the Army. So we've had our experiences being in the South. And I joke about it with her is that, you know, if anyone saw where we lived, they would think we're in a witness protection program. And because the reason why is because everyone here, they don't look like us, they don't, you know, but you know what? For the most part, it's all been very genuine. Like, people actually genuinely want to help, and they're willing to help. When they say they're going to be there, they'll be there. I'm not used to that. You know, their word is their bond. So for the most part, I've had very positive interactions with people here. In fact, the only racist issues that's ever happened was actually back in California when I was traveling with my family, like I think it was in Bakersfield or something like that, and I heard some racial remarks. But out here, that whole deal that the South is racist, you know, that is a misnomer, but I don't know if I want to rule it out for everybody, so I don't want everybody to start, you know, moving in. But yeah, that's been my experience.
Yeah.
And I've heard of other people moving from California thinking that this area is going to be bad and racist, and they're like, yeah, that back home was way worse than here. And I'm not ignorant to the fact that, yes, I do know that there are some people out there that have issues with other groups of people. That would be, it would be naive to think that that's not the case. But
absolutely.
Majority, from my personal experience, and it sounds like so far for you guys, it's been a very nice place to live and accepting for a lot of backgrounds and groups of people.
I feel like the attitude out here is just live and let live. So you don't push your whatever on me, and we don't push whatever on you, and we're fine. We have a mutual respect, and I do love. And it's a small thing, but I like that people actually wave when they drive. I mean, I'm not used to that. Not waving the finger, but actually waving the hand and saying hello. And I was like, wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is unique. And now I get upset when people don't wave back. They're not from around here.
Yeah. You've gone country now. Yeah.
So you did mention beforehand that you did experience one negative thing here recently. Can you explain that, or open to it?
Yeah. I mean, I think that there are different personalities and different groups here, I think. And so Tim and I are both in real estate, and our local farmers here, there's one other family that we actually trust. They raise their chickens the way that we do, with clabbered milk and no corn, no soy. So they're very much with the Weston A. Price principles, which is great for us. And so it's just good to have a backup farmer that we go to whenever we run out of food. Well, they reached out to us back in October, a couple months ago, and asked us to represent them to buy some land because they were getting kicked off of theirs. And as a mortgage broker, I have access to 150 different lending banks and programs. And unfortunately, as a farmer, we are all 1099 employees, like Tim and I as well. And with that being said, I need to use 2 years of tax returns. And if I see decreasing income, or if a bank sees decreasing income, that's not good over a 2-year span. It's not like a W-2 employee. It's a little bit more forgivable because there's a steady paycheck, right? And then, the other thing was, well, you started a farm, but they started to farm just 4 months prior. So that's not enough history for us to use. And as a bank, they would say they would deem this as too risky of a deal. So Tim and I really prayed about it, and we said, well, what if we stepped in then as a lender? Because I can't afford to lose them. Like, for us and for our community, I really want them to stay with us. And so I said, well, what if we were made aware of this, where we can step in and do something? So we ended up, pooling some money together, and we purchased an extra 22 acres of raw land. But it's all completely usable, pastured and everything, and can't wait for you guys to tour it tomorrow. But with that, actually ran the scenario through Joel Salatin, who's our mentor, and ultimately we're doing a lease with them because we couldn't we couldn't qualify them. So the sellers of the land decided to go up on social media right after we closed, about a month after we closed, and started branding us as Chinese investors from California.
Wow.
I don't know why, but I think that there was a lot of emotions, and it comes from a lack of education from their agent and not explaining to them potentially what a real estate deal that they just, had. And so here we are, and luckily the people that we associate with in these communities already vouch for us and who we are. So that's why the power of a community is so important. And, if we were Chinese investors, we would be buying it to build a development.
And not actually living here.
And not actually living here. Why would you buy here in a small town? And so it's just really unfortunate, because that was the one time I'm like, this is what people were warning us about.
Well, it's extremely frustrating because being in real estate, it's different. Out here in Tennessee, it's a little bit more loosey-goosey in terms of the paperwork, but all of our paperwork was on the up and up. We clearly disclosed our names on the paperwork and everything. It was really, just like as Sophie mentioned, it was the agent on their part not educating them. Maybe it was the first time they'd ever sold something, but to me, and I know we did everything by the book, and just to be made out as the bad guy was unfortunate. So we took the high road. We didn't really say anything to that, and we just continue on. But I know that what we're doing, we're serving a higher purpose here, and we're doing something good for the community. So there are other, factors at work that may want to try to stop that. And what we know we're doing the right thing, and that's what's going to keep us moving forward here.
Coming from a small town in the South, I grew up that way. Like, we know there's always those that are going to yell the loudest and make the most noise, and are the most negative people to be around. And as long as you have your relationships with the other people in the community, they're going to see through all of that person that likes to make a lot of noise.
Yeah.
Because you guys are just a couple trying to do the right thing, try to save a farm, help some people out, and then bam, somebody's trying to come after you.
I mean, it is a little unnerving. I mean, we practice good security practices, you know, always being able to carry, and we teach our children to be able to shoot. But at the same time, the community is what you need. And that's exactly what happened when that seller went on social media. It was actually our community members that were admins. They were admins on those groups, and you know, they're the ones that took it down because she was blatantly lying. And so that's really nice to have people like having our backs, because in such a small community, everyone knows everyone, right?
Yeah. And the thing is, like, we're trying to feed you good food. Like, we're trying to keep that here for you.
Yeah.
Because they have their own farm store that they vet just as much as we would. I mean, the quality, the level of quality, and how they farm. So that was really important for us to keep that here, because we don't have that anywhere else within like an hour's drive.
That's such a powerful example of showing the importance of community. Like, somebody's coming after you with slander or whatever, that if you have a group of people that have your back and stepping in and helping you out, and that means a lot. And that's so needed in today's world, where who knows what people can say about you online or whatever to try to ruin your reputation or whatever, hinder you from doing some of the things that you're trying to do. But having a group of people to get you back, that's pretty neat.
That's also a testament to you and what you have brought to this community too, and your outreach that you've done to get to know people, and that they know you, and that they want you here in this community. So that is in a short amount of time, because you've only lived here like at 2 years.
Yeah.
That's amazing to develop those relationships.
Man, I know that was really hard for them to deal with. But facing that trial and getting through it is a good example of the importance of having a community, a support team of people that will help you, have your back during the tough times that you face. When others are maybe pointing the finger and saying you're this or you're that, you have people that stand up for you. And then also people that are there for you to celebrate during the good times. But back at the Ings home, we all enjoyed some of Mrs. Brown's fresh, real milk together.
Really, the only reason why I even drink coffee is so that I could drink the cream.
Yeah, I can see there you got just a little bit of coffee. It's like, man, is that all you're gonna do?
I do 20% coffee and 80% cream. Don't judge.
Hey,
That's why we have a cow. One of the best things about Maggie was she always taught me that the cream always rises to the top. So the best people will always show up. And also, that is the reason why, it's the real relationships, it's the real milk. That's something you don't get from pasteurized milk, you don't get that from homogenized milk, and that's the difference between real milk, real relationships, real food. We make our own long fermented Vietnamese yogurt, and she loved that. And we have our milk, we make our kefir, we make butter, ice cream, and we share that with the community here. And we're so glad that you and your family have been able to be here with us and share in with all of our love.
And even though she's gone, you are still carrying on and continuing on the things that she taught you.
Yeah.
So she left a legacy, it seems like.
She did, and she left a great legacy Maggie was the homesteader of homesteaders.
Wow.
And she did everything with love, everything with intention, and she did a lot of research and poured into the people that she really cared for and loved.
And what she learned, she passed to you as well as to your daughters as well.
Yes.
And that equips them with being able to pass it on even further.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What a touching experience this was. I must admit, there was a time or two where I just had to hold back some tears hearing about the racism, hearing about cancer and death. Man, those things are tough. but it's also really neat and really touching to hear and see the love of people sticking together through the thick and the thin. Things are such a great family, and I encourage you to check out their YouTube channel, Sprinkled with Soil. See you next time.